All right. Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to day one of Success Principles. Who else is excited? Huh? Yeah, me too. I barely slept a wink last night. Whew. I don't know about you guys, but it's been too long. Too long. A little bit out of rhythm, a little bit out of routine. I, for one, have been really looking forward to connecting for today's call and connecting with you. So we've got a couple other people that might be joining us a little bit late, and some people. I'll maybe just leave this waiting room open, and they can join us when they're ready. But like I said, welcome to day one of Success Principles. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to do a kind of a basic introduction into some of the material and give you an understanding of what you can expect over the next coming weeks. And we're going to get into the first principle today of Napoleon Hill's success principles. Okay. And I recognize that, for some of you, some of this might be a little bit of a recap. That some of us might be familiar with some of the ideas that we're going to be talking about today. But I want to caution you not to make one of the mistakes that I made for a long time, and that's to assume that you know it. In fact, if I could make a suggestion, I'd say that, take this off and dump it out, just empty your mind and come at this with fresh eyes. Come at this with eyes of a newborn. In fact, if you're going to assume anything, assume that maybe you don't quite fully understand it as much as you think you do. If Janelle were here, she would say that repetition is the mother of all learning. And that's true. And I think that there's real power in repeating a concept over and over and over and over again until it's not just something that you're aware of, but it's something that you internalize, something that you emotionalize, something that you embody. And when you begin to do that, that's really what makes all the difference. Okay. So I encourage you guys to, be open to some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, and don't assume that you know it. I think that that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make is they'll read a book or they'll watch a film or a YouTube video and they think, yeah, oh yeah, I've seen that. Or yeah, I know that. I've heard that before. Well, maybe you know of it, but I think that there's a really big difference between what people know and what people do. And until you're acting on it and embodying it, I'm going to suggest that maybe you don't know it as well as you think you do. Maybe it's something that you know of, but still need to apply. And the truth is, that's where all the magic happens, isn't it? In the application. They say knowledge is power, but knowledge is only powerful to the extent that it's applied. Knowledge ain't shit unless you're using it. And that's the truth. Okay. So, like I said, today is day one of success principles. Okay. And success principles is based on the work of Napoleon Hill. Many of you are familiar with Napoleon Hill. He was the author of several books on success. He wrote The Laws of Success, Think and Grow Rich, Success Habits, and one of my personal favorites, not necessarily based in success, but it's Outwitting the Devil, which for those of you who have read it, is probably popped your mind off a few times. And if you haven't, it's worth checking out. Okay. But Napoleon Hill himself has a very interesting story. And for those of you who don't know, Napoleon Hill spent 20 years of his life, he committed 20 years of his life to studying 500 of the world's most successful men and women. Okay. Now he didn't just learn from them, he studied them like a scientist. Like he analyzed them, he dissected them, he really like tested their theories and their ideas. Okay. And he distilled the things that he learned from this 500 of the world's most successful men and women into essentially what would later become known as the laws of success, and then his follow-up book, Think and Grow Rich. And Think and Grow Rich is widely regarded as one of the best personal development books of all time. It was originally written in 1937 and has since gone on to sell over 200 million copies in something like 126 different languages. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would have a hard time even naming 126 different languages. That's pretty expansive. That's all around the world. And it has been said that Napoleon Hill and his principles or his philosophy have contributed to the success of more men and women than any other philosophy known to man. And this isn't something that he was stating or claiming. This is things that have been said about him and about his principles and philosophy. So he's not just some self-righteous dude telling everybody how cool he is and that kind of thing. Okay. Napoleon Hill, he honestly believed that this kind of stuff should be taught in schools, in every school across America. And the fact that it's not taught in schools, I think is kind of criminal, to be honest with you. The fact that we have to seek this out, study this on our own, I think that that's really too bad. Then I have to remind myself that the purpose of a school is not to create strong, smart, successful, independent people. The purpose of a school is to create good, obedient workers that show up on time and do what they're told. You know what I mean? So the fact that we have to seek this out on our own maybe shouldn't come as such a surprise. And to be honest with you, if this kind of stuff was taught in school, well, shoot, I might be looking for a different job. You know what I mean? I might be on my own doing something completely different. And truth is, I really enjoy what I do. So this has been a blessing. But success principles is based on 4 distinct things. Okay, 4 distinct things. The first thing is essentially what you could call applied psychology. Applied psychology. Okay, so it's understanding essentially how our minds operate. We are in possession of one of the most advanced pieces of biological technology known to man, and very few people know how to use it. I've shared this story before about my son who got a drone for Christmas and came with like a 97-page user's manual for a kid's toy. Had troubleshooting instructions, how to use it, best operating conditions and things like that. Well, shit. And nobody ever told me how to use my mind. Not to the extent that, I'm learning now. The truth of the matter is that, you're not really in control of when or how you come into this world. You're probably not going to have much control over when or how you leave it either. But while you're here, you have the ability, you have the God-given ability to take control of your mind and use it however you please. For good, for evil, whatever you like. And people do that every day. Most people aren't very conscious or aware that they have that control or that ability. And just because you have that power doesn't mean we necessarily use it, does it? So I'm of the belief that the more we know about our mind, the more we know about how to use it, the better off we are. Okay. So part of this is going to be about learning and understanding our mind. Okay. The second part is going to be understanding and correctly applying natural law. Understanding and correctly applying natural law. Now, I mean, we're all familiar with man-made laws, you know, tax season, speeding tickets, rental properties, things of that nature, and things that are the hoops we have to jump through. Okay. Well, man-made laws are they change from time to time. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. You don't have to look too far in the news or anything like that to hear about new laws and new things that are changing all the time, right? Well, man-made laws, you might be able to bend them in your favor, and in fact, a lot of people do. You might even be able to break them and get away with it for a short period of time. Okay. But the natural laws, the laws that govern nature and the universe, are unbending. Okay. They're always consistent. Okay. And they don't yield to our preferences or our pleasures. Okay. And when you learn to understand and correctly apply the natural laws, and you begin to, I guess you could say, mold yourself to fit them, you get better results. The truth is that the natural laws are pretty unforgiving. If you try to go against natural law, you're going to pay the price. You know, there's all sorts of natural laws, and we're going to get into this a little bit later, but there's the law of circulation. Okay. There's the law of polarity. There's the law of rhythm. There's the law of cause and effect, or also known as the law of karma. You know, do you think that it's a coincidence that the Tiger King is behind bars right now? You know, does anybody else think that that's a little bit ironic? You know, here's a guy who made a fortune imprisoning innocent little animals, even killing them. If you believe some of the, have any of you guys seen Tiger King? You guys watched that at the beginning of COVID? Yeah, you know, and the fact that he's behind bars right now just tickles me. I think that that's hilarious. But you know, hey, that's karma. That's the law of cause and effect. That's the law of what goes around comes around, you know? And learning to adapt yourself to the natural laws rather than trying to adapt the natural laws to fit your wants and desires is going to provide a lot more success, a lot more peace, and a lot more fulfillment and better results in general. Okay. So the third part is creating a strategy or an action plan. Okay. It's not enough just to know this stuff if you're not applying it. It's about creating a plan for how to get from where you are to where you want to go. Steps 1, 2, and 3, A, B, and C. Okay. This isn't necessarily an intellectual exercise. Are we going to be having some stimulating conversation? Absolutely. Okay. But it doesn't stop there. This is meant to be a transformational experience, an opportunity for you to apply what you're learning. Okay. And that's where the strategy comes in. And the fourth component, okay, the last component, okay, is one of the most important ones for myself, and that's accountability. Okay. And there is a direct relationship between accountability and success. The more accountable you are to other human beings, the more successful you're going to be. In fact, did you know that you are 800% more likely to follow through on a task when you're accountable to another person? 800%. That's crazy. It doesn't surprise me in the least, but I think that statistic is fascinating. The truth is that we're just way too good at letting ourselves off the hook sometimes, aren't we? Way too good at, you know, selling ourselves our own brand of bullshit, you know? And I think that having other people to help hold us accountable to the things that we say that we want, the things that we say we're going to do, okay, it can't, the importance of that can't be overstated. You know, having other people to hold you to that and to stop us from drifting into old patterns and old habits is priceless in my opinion. Okay. So those are the four kind of distinct themes or things the success principles is based upon. Okay. Now I wanted to read from you guys a little passage from Think and Grow Rich this morning. And if you guys don't have a copy of Think and Grow Rich, I would highly suggest getting one. You know, everybody learns a little bit differently, and some people learn better listening. Some people learn better seeing it. Some people learn better kinetically by actually doing it. And I try to do all three or all four, and I try to read it, underline, engage with it, take notes, read it out loud, and repeat it. So if you guys don't have a hardcover copy or like a paperback, a physical copy, maybe consider getting one. Okay, it's a gold mine, a wealth of information. Okay, but I was reading this the other day, and this paragraph jumped out at me, and I wanted to read this to you. I thought it was fitting for today's call. Okay, he says that Napoleon Hill says that the Think and Grow Rich journey. Yeah, Melissa says, can you show us what copy you have? There are different copies for sure. This is the Think and Grow Rich, the Mastermind volume that I have. Okay, I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend this one. I think that you probably can't go wrong. I have seen little ones that are like the 5-inch ones by like 3 inches. They're small and they don't allow for a lot of room to like write in the margins and things. So I opted for a bigger one. It's got like questions at the end of each chapter. So there's little exercises and worksheets that I found super helpful. So maybe consider that when you're purchasing a copy. Okay, but Napoleon Hill in the first chapter here, he says the Think and Grow Rich journey. Okay, and he says that we begin an adventure in which we become conscious of our actions, beliefs, and our responsibilities in our own success and happiness. It's a journey, one that is filled with overcoming our self-imposed limitations and living a life that is larger and more abundant, more joyous than ever before. That doesn't mean that the journey doesn't have challenges and that difficult moments because it will. He says, but it does mean that you will now see these challenges and difficulties for what they are, necessary adjustments on our road to success. For those of you who have been in Momentum Mastermind or Unstuck in the past, some of this will sound familiar. But he says that when we can view everything that happens to us as either a blessing or a blessing in disguise, we are seeing rightly. Struggles become opportunities and blocks become stepping stones. And I think just how true that is, becoming conscious and aware, overcoming our limiting beliefs, seeing problems for what they really are as opportunities to course correct, change our path, make adjustments to our plan. They're either a blessing or a blessing in disguise. Napoleon Hill says that every heartbreak, every failure, and every setback also brings with it the seeds of an equal or a greater benefit. Sometimes it's just our responsibility to find that silver lining, isn't it? To find the good in every situation. But I promise you that if you begin to train your mind to see the positive in every situation, you will find it. It's there. The law of polarity states that if something's bad, it's also equally good, or at least there's seeds of good in it. The truth to that, though, is if something's good, it's also got a little bit of bad to it, too. It's what you choose to see. It's what you choose to focus on. Okay? So the student of this course should be a student of life. Okay? Should be a student of life. We should be training ourselves in multidisciplinary areas. Okay? Now, there's many different factors that contribute to a strong mindset, a clear head, a good attitude, okay? Not least of which are things like exercise, nutrition, sleep, your relationships, your environment. And your environment is one thing that Napoleon Hill talks at lengths about, and the importance of specifically creating what he calls a mastermind alliance. And a mastermind alliance. And he attributes a lot of his success to the mastermind alliance that he's created. Now, as human beings, we all have the ability to create our own environment physically, but also socially. All the other little creatures on the planet, they don't have that ability. They're controlled by instinct, whereas we have the ability to make conscious decisions if we choose. Now, you guys have maybe heard the saying that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Anybody heard that phrase before? Yeah. You guys believe that to be true? You think it's a bunch of nonsense? Yeah. Some people agree, some people on the fence. Yeah. Personally, I think that unconsciously we all start to become like the people that we spend the most time with. If you're paying attention, you might notice that you unconsciously start to act like the people that you hang out with. Maybe dress like the people that you hang out with. Maybe even start to use similar hand gestures or mannerisms. Shit, I used to travel quite a bit, not as much now, but travel quite a bit. I was in Scotland. I wasn't there for 48 hours before I started to have a Scottish accent. It was so bad. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, geez, I'm not Scottish. It was terrible. But the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are motivated, who are inspired, who are believers, who are doers, the dreamers, it's hard not to get caught up in that kind of atmosphere and that kind of energy. The importance of putting yourself in an environment that's conducive to your goals. An environment that's conducive to your goals. It was funny the other day, we came home from a walk and if you guys have young kids, you maybe have to do this, but everywhere, we'll empty our pockets. Okay, we'll empty our pockets when we get home. And there's usually so many like rocks and, random stuff that the kids find and stuff like this. And my son had it was like a seed like this. And actually, you know what it looked like? It looked kind of like a pit from somebody's lunch, like a nectarine or something like that. Okay, I was like, oh, gross. What are you doing with that? And he said that he wanted to bring it home and he was going to plant it. Okay, and well, how long has that been in your pocket? He's like, well, I picked it up in Arizona. I was like, oh man. But I thought, well, you know what? What are the chances of that thing growing in your pocket? And he said, not good. And I said, no, for sure not good. That seed, it has all the potential in the universe, but without the right environment, what are the chances of it fulfilling its potential? 0. And it's just like that with us and our goals. And I know that it doesn't matter how much potential we have, if we're not surrounding ourselves with the right people, if we're not in the right environment, if we're not in an environment that's conducive to the development of ourself and our goals, that stuff's just never going to happen. The importance of your environment cannot be overstated. Now, I said that, the student of this course should be a student of life. Okay. To be a student of life, it's important to do what? It's important to, Melissa, you look like you had a guess. No? If you're going to be a student of life, it's important to study. Study what? Wow, the material, first and foremost. There's a reason why Bob Proctor read and reread Think and Grow Rich over and over and over and over again every single day for over 60 years. And I'll tell you, it's not because he wasn't smart. It's not because he wasn't dense. You know, there will be some homework involved in this course. Okay, success principles comes with homework. Okay, just be warned. Okay, and when it comes to this kind of thing, don't expect that if you read it once, you got it. Too oftentimes, and I'm guilty of this too, sometimes I'll read a page or a chapter, I'll get to the end, and my mind was somewhere else. I'll be like, well, what was he even saying? What was that chapter about? What are some of the key points? One of the things that I learned from, yeah, Jamie's smiling. What, are you guilty of that too, Jamie? Yeah. One of the things that I learned from Bob Proctor is he would stay on a paragraph and reread the same sentence and the same few paragraphs until he understood what the author was trying to say. Don't just read it and think you got it. Really try to get at the core or the essence of what it is that this author is speaking about. Study the material, read it and reread it until it's not just something that you're aware of, until it's not just a thought that you're aware of, but until that thought and your thoughts are indistinguishable from one another. Okay, so study. One, the material. Two, you want to study yourself. There's a man by the name of Neville Goddard. Okay, and one of the most powerful lines from Neville I've ever heard is that man's chief delusion is the belief or the conviction that there are causes outside of himself and his thinking that are responsible for the results that he's getting. And I'm going to say this again. This is just as applicable to women. Okay, that was the language of the time, but it's just as applicable to women. The man's chief delusion is the belief or the conviction that there are causes outside of himself and his thinking that are responsible for the results that he's getting. Okay. My coach says to me all the time, he drills this into my head. He says that don't think for a second that your life is the way that it is because of anything else other than you. Hurts my feelings every time, but but it's true, you know. And that the truth is that a lot of people don't want to accept that. That can be a hard pill to swallow or a hard truth to accept. But the fact is that you know, if you're pointing the finger or you're laying blame or you're blaming your parents or your partner or your boss or the government, the economy, if you're blaming any of those things for your situation and where you find yourself today, you're giving away your power to do anything about it. If you're pointing the finger and laying blame and you're essentially putting that onus of responsibility on them, you're going to be essentially what happens is you're going to have to wait until they decide to change or until things on the outside become different for you to experience change. And the truth is that if that's the case, you might be waiting a very, very long time. Now, this is an easy mistake to make. It's an easy trap to fall into. In fact, I used to do it often. And I've shared this story with some of you before, but you know, back in the day, I wasn't always such a law-abiding, upstanding citizen that I am today. And I, you know, burned a few bridges and pissed a few people off, but it was always somebody else's fault. You know, they always had it coming. And I thought that the solution to my problem was I was going to move to a different city, get a fresh start over. So I moved to Alberta, got new roommates, a new girlfriend, and a new job. I thought, well, fresh start. It's perfect. That's all I needed. Okay? But I didn't change the primary cause of all of my results, which was me and my thinking. And because I didn't change, it wasn't very long until I just recreated the same shitstorm, but in a different province. And it wasn't until I began to change myself and my thinking that my results really started to change. A change of consciousness is required on the inside before you will ever experience a change on the outside. I'm going to say that again. A change of consciousness is required on the inside before you will ever experience a change on the outside. And that's the truth. Now, people will always say things like, well, yeah, but you don't know my partner, you don't know my wife, or you don't know my husband, or you don't know my boss. He's a real piece of work. And I think, well, I mean, that might be true. But is it possible that if you had a different thought, or if you had a different belief, or if you started taking different actions, the things might be different for you right now? And of course, the answer to that is yes. There's a big difference between fault and responsibility. It's not necessarily the same thing. Okay. But the paradox is when you begin to take back responsibility and own it, it's actually a very empowering deed, isn't it? It's a very empowering act. Doesn't always feel good at the time, but I'll tell you, you can actually start to create, you can be a catalyst for change. Okay. And then the last thing that you want to study is yourself in relation to the material. Yourself in relation to the material. So as you're reading this stuff, you want to hold it up. Use it as like a mirror. Reflect upon it. Ask yourself questions. I firmly believe that one of the most empowering habits that a person can develop is the habit of asking themselves questions. As you read through some of this material, you might want to ask yourself, well, do I believe this to be true? That's a good question. What about does my does my behavior reflect that I know this? Or does my behavior reflect that I believe this? If you get into the habit of asking yourself empowering questions, you're going to get empowering answers. The only problem is that most people are in a terrible habit of asking themselves horrible questions. Oh, why am I so bad at this? Oh, how come I can never lose weight? Oh, how come I'm always so broke? You ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. Okay. So you want to be studying the material, repeat it over and over and over again. You want to be studying yourself, okay? Because the primary cause of all of your results always comes back to your thinking, your thoughts, and your actions, or in some cases, lack of. And then the third thing you want to be studying is yourself in relation to the material. How can I apply this? Where does this fit into my life? Where can I use this? Okay. The other thing you want to be studying is other people. Other people. Like, life is a game and it's a team sport. Okay. Life is a game and it's a team sport. And nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody becomes successful on their own. Nobody. Okay. And I think it's fair to say that the more we understand about ourselves, the more we understand others. Would you guys agree with that? And I think the more that we understand others, the better results we get. When you're able to understand how other people think, how other people behave, what motivates them, what drives them, how people act in certain situations. If life's a game, well, in every game, there's winners and there's losers. No, I'm not to say somebody's a loser. I've never call somebody a loser, but some people their results are better than others. And you could get into the habit of studying the successful people. Start to analyze them like Napoleon Hill did. And well, he's not alive anymore, but like Napoleon Hill did, start to analyze them, start to study them, start to dissect them. What were they reading? What were they watching? What were they listening to? Okay. You could also start to study some of the people who are doing less well, the losers of the group. Understand what pitfalls to avoid, what actions you don't want to be taking. I'll tell you, one of the common misconceptions about success is that, successful people got lucky, or that they somehow were in the right place at the right time. And I'll tell you, I believe that to a certain extent for a large portion of my life. But what I've realized is that success does not happen by luck or by chance. Success happens as the compound effect of doing a small few things consistently over a long period of time. And it doesn't matter if it's your fitness, doesn't matter if it's your finances, it doesn't matter if it's your relationship, it's the same principles. It's that consistency of doing a few small things consistently over a long period of time. And similarly, it's not doing a few specific things, certain behaviors and pitfalls to avoid. Okay. So you want to be studying other people. Watch their behavior, not who they appear to be, not who they present themselves to be, but who they really are. Watch how they behave when they're angry. Oh, you'll learn something about somebody when you see them angry, won't you? In fact, one thing that I've struggled to overcome or working to overcome is this line that I heard one time, is that you can measure a man by the size of the problems that upset him. Sometimes little things I'd fly right off the handle, But study a person when they're in love too, how they act, how they behave. Study a person when there's money on the line. You really want to know what makes somebody tick, or how they think, or how they act? Watch how they behave when there's money involved. People's real colors come out. I remember this conversation with Ryan Bamford when we were talking about this during Unstuck, and he was saying that, oh yeah, when people are in the process of buying a house, you see everybody's true colors, or watch people when they're winning. Are they good sports? What's their sportsmanship like? Are they good winners? Are they good losers? Are they gracious? Or do they flaunt it? Or do they pout? And it's a lesson we're having to teach in our household right now. Or better yet, watch what people do or how people respond when they hear about another person winning. Do they celebrate it? Are they happy? Or are they resentful, jealous, angry, try to, undercut them, take them out at the knees? Or what about watch people when other people are losing? I saw something the other day where it was a story of a rapper, and he was talking about how he had rappers and people like that. They always have like entourages, people that follow them around. Hey, well, he said that he got to the point where he wanted to know who his real crew was. So he kind of faked this elaborate experience where he had to tell everybody that, hey, he's broke, bankrupt, show's over, game's over. And he said there was about 50 people in his entourage. And after that, there was only 6 that said, hey, you know what? It's okay. I'm with you no matter what. Whatever you decide to do, like, hey, I'll always be here for you. 6. So watch who's checking on you when you're down. Watch who's got your back when you're slipping, not just when you're winning. You also want to watch people when they don't think that anybody else is watching. Ooh, when they don't think that they're being observed. What's funny? I have a story that I used to bartend, and I was working in this restaurant in Edmonton at the time. This is one of these times when I'd left town thinking I'd start over. and I was filling up the ice machine, and I was scooping ice and filling up our tanks, and some ice fell onto the ground. Okay. And rather than pick it up and like dispose of it, you know what I did? I just kicked it underneath the ice machine. And I just thought, oh, well, this is somebody else's problem. I kicked it in there and I looked up and my manager was right there. He, what are you doing? Shit, busted. But how you behave when you think nobody's watching will tell you something about yourself, and it'll tell you something about others. And I'll tell you, I was in the habit of cutting corners there, but I was also in that habit was showing up in other areas of my life too. Okay. That habit was showing up in other areas of my life too. The truth is that we can learn a lot from other people. And every single person we meet knows something that we don't. Okay. And so you have an opportunity to learn from everybody if you're open to it. Okay. If you're open to it. But we're talking about success and success principles. So I guess we should have a conversation about what success is. I'm curious. What's your idea of success? What's your definition of success? What does that word mean to you? Who would like to go first? Don't be shy. Jamie.
Um, I feel like living a successful life is living your life to the fullest potential and being just happy where you are and with what you have, but still being goal orientated. Just keep moving up.
Okay. So finding that balance between being grateful for what you have and still growing and achieving bigger things.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Anybody else? Anybody have anything different? Yeah, Melissa.
Um, I would say my definition of success, or part of it, would be living life on my terms. So I decide what time and when I'm done work, and I decide how many days a week I work. And I'm learning that I will decide what my income will be.
Mm.
Um, and then I guess when I have all of those things that create success for me, that allows me to include and have more time for the other things that fill my tank in other areas, right? Family and friends um, and creating experiences because I have the time to do so.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit more fulfilling, having the freedom of time and that sort of thing too.
Yeah.
Living life on your terms as opposed to always being told where to be and what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Anybody else? We have time for one more if we got somebody. Some people think that success is earning a lot of money. Personally, I know people who earn a lot of money, but they're miserable. They're dead inside. There's no life in them, no passion. That doesn't speak to success for me. Some people don't have any idea what success means to them. And I wonder, well, what the hell are you doing all day? What are you doing grinding and going to work every day? You haven't even given any thought to what success is for you. I think it's a personal thing for sure. Some people think that success is, having the freedom to do what they want, when they want, with whoever they want, to whatever degree they want. And that might be true. But I'll tell you, I've found, and Napoleon Hill says this too, that only about 2% of people are really ready for that kind of freedom. Only about 2%. And I learned the hard way that I need structure. I need routine. I need discipline. And without it, like, I just get myself in trouble. Too much freedom isn't always a good thing. With too much freedom, most people, you know what they do? Most people waste time. It's true. They procrastinate. They stay up late, watch TV, sleep in, hit snooze, let themselves off the hook, make excuses. Too much freedom isn't always a good thing, you know? But one of the best definitions of success I've ever come across is one that some of you might be familiar with, and that's Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale said that a successful man or woman is somebody who knows where they are and knows where they want to go and is making steady progress towards that goal. Somebody who knows where they are, knows where they want to go, and is making steady progress towards that goal. Now, I just love that definition of success, to be honest with you, because you don't even necessarily need to have achieved your goal yet. As long as you're making progress towards it, you can feel like a success, like you're on the way. And that's exciting. That's empowering. You can feel good about that. In fact, Tony Robbins has a line that he says that happiness equals progress, or maybe it's progress equals happiness. As long as you're making progress towards your goal, it feels good. That to me sounds like a good definition of success. But you got to know where you want to go. And that brings me to the first principle that we're going to be talking about, which is a deftness of purpose combined with a burning desire to achieve it. Deftness of purpose combined with a burning desire to achieve it. Like a deftness of purpose. What's your goal? Now, most people don't have a goal. Most people's goals fall more into the category of like a general want or a wish. Okay. And to be honest with you, most people don't have a burning desire either. There's a quote, and I'm not sure who said this originally, but I learned it from Jordan Peterson. And it goes something along the lines of, hard times create strong men create easy times. Right? How does that go? Easy times create soft men create hard times. And you see this cyclical event or this cyclical experience. Well, I'll tell you, personally speaking, I think that we're in the middle of some, maybe even coming out the other side of some easy times. And the result is that people are just a little bit too comfortable. There's not a lot of motivation, not a lot of desire for people to act, to make change. In order to really create change, it's got to be a burning desire. Too oftentimes when I talk to people, it's like, it'd be nice if it did happen, but I'm okay if it didn't. I'm pretty good right now. What are the chances of you sticking through, persisting through any sort of difficulty if that's your attitude? Deftness of purpose combined with a burning desire to achieve it. Most people don't have a goal. And Earl Nightingale says that a man or a woman without a goal is like a ship without a rudder, just drifting aimlessly, wandering, lost. No direction, no motivation, no destination. What happens is they take the path of least resistance. They just go with the flow. I just finished up a trip in the Grand Canyon. Okay, in the Grand Canyon, I was thinking about the river. And Napoleon Hill, I was reading this at the same time, and he says that he says all rivers take the path of least resistance. right? But the path of least resistance makes all rivers crooked, and some men too. And I know from personal experience that the path of least resistance always leads to low places. Think about it. It's always moving downstream. And the path of least resistance as it applies to water, okay, is always moving downstream to a low place. Well, it's just like that with you and I in our lives. For whatever reason, you know, the things that are worthwhile achieving or doing, they're always uphill, aren't they? That always requires a little bit more effort. We can learn a lot from nature and nature's example. But I'll tell you, meandering, taking the path of least resistance, was not intended for men and women. Maybe rivers, maybe water, not for men and women. Okay. In fact, the most successful men and women, they have a very clear idea of where they're going. They know where they're going, why they're doing it, okay, and when they want it to be done by. In fact, Napoleon Hill has his WWWWH formula. Okay, you guys might want to write this down. What you want, when you want it, maybe even where, why you want it, and how you're going to do it. WWWWH. The most successful men and women know what they want, why they want it, and when they're going to do it by. And then what they do is they go to work to reverse engineer that plan. You know, most people are in the habit of playing what Earl Nightingale calls follow the follower. You know, it's a pretty common game. We just kind of go along with the flow, don't we? Take cues from those around us. You know, maybe do what everybody says we're supposed to do, you know? But the truth is that that doesn't always lead to the most fulfilling, most enjoyable, or the most successful life or existence. Okay. Now, sometimes people get hung up on the word purpose when I say things like depthness of purpose. Okay. Let me ask you, you guys can just unmute yourself here, but do you think that people have a purpose? Do you think that we're born with a purpose? Melissa, what do you think?
I don't know. I feel, yeah, I'm sure we all are born with a purpose, but I think it probably a very small percentage of people actually end up doing their purpose
You think
or
so? Yeah.
creating their purpose.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Tom, what about you? What do you think? You think that people are born with a purpose? Or do you think that's a bunch of hogwash?
I don't know. I wouldn't say like born with a specific purpose, but born to have a purpose, maybe like to find out what your purpose is.
To find out what your purpose is. Well, that sounds deep, buddy. Yeah. You know, personally, I think that most people are born with a purpose. And I think that oftentimes, though, kind of speaking to what Melissa said, sometimes the hardest person to admit it to, though, is ourselves. You know, sometimes we're too afraid to acknowledge our own gifts, our own skill, or our own passions. And I think that each of us have a gift inside of us. In fact, Pablo Picasso, the famous artist, he said that the meaning of life is to discover our gifts, and the purpose of life is to give it away. Now, I don't know what you think about Pablo Picasso. Maybe he's just a little bit nuts. Maybe he's off his rocker. I mean, the guy did cut off his own ear, didn't he? But I think he was onto something with that line. One of my favorite quotes is by a man named Howard Thurman. And Howard Thurman said, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do that. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And I really, truly do think that each and every one of us is born with a gift. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Brett says it was Van Gogh that cut his ear off. That's true. My mistake. Thanks, Brett. But I really do truly think that each of us was born with a gift. And it's up to us to decide whether, one, we're willing to admit that to ourselves, and whether we're willing to give that to the rest of the world. And the more I think about this, the more that I think that the true meaning of life is to do a couple of things. One, like Pablo Picasso said there, discover your gift, but find out what you're passionate about, to express yourself, to create something almost that's an expression of you, whether that's a product or a service, whether it's art, whether it's a building, okay, whether it's an object, something that's an expression of you that you're creating. Creation is a high vibration energy. We're all intended to create. We get to choose what that is, okay? But then also the second part of that is to be of service to another human being. And there are infinite numbers of ways that you can be of service to another human being, in using your gift to do that too. And I just listened recently to a podcast with David Blaine. You guys know David Blaine, the magician? Yeah. Pretty interesting character. He told a story about how when he was a kid, he came from a rather rough upbringing. He had a single mom, and she worked late, and so his job was to wait at the library after school until his mom could pick him up. He found these books on magic, and he used to practice these books at the library until he got good at it. One day his mom came to pick him up, and he showed his mom this new magic trick that he learned. And he said that the expression on her face, she was just totally blown away. She couldn't believe it. And it just, in that moment, she forgot everything about the trouble that she was experiencing, the hard day that she had had, all the stress and worries that were on her mind. And he said it was right then and there that he knew that he had a gift and an ability to help people forget about their problems. And he was going to dedicate the rest of his life to sharing that. It gives me chills thinking about it. Jim Carrey, another famous comedian, says something very similar about the way that he saw that his work, his art, was a way for people to laugh, lighten up, improve their day, maybe even improve their life for a small time. And I truly think that each and every single one of us have a way of giving our gifts to other people in such a way that it will improve the quality of their life. And when we do that, it actually enriches our life too. People say, follow your passion and it'll lead you directly to your purpose. And I think that there's some truth to that for sure. People will say, but that's risky. It's scary. Well, that's true too. That's true too. But the truth is that it's all risky, isn't it? There's risk involved the minute we came into this world. And I think that the biggest risk of all is living a life not doing the things that we want to do and not chasing the dreams that we want to chase. That's risky. And I think, to be honest with you, one of the favorite quotes from Napoleon Hill, he says that, what's the line? He says that it takes no more effort, or no more effort is required. Let me start that again. No more effort is required to aim high in life and demand abundance and prosperity than it is to aim low and accept misery and poverty. No more effort is required to aim high in life and demand abundance and prosperity than is required to aim low and accept misery and poverty. The truth is they're both hard. And you get to choose your hard, right? It's hard to chase your dreams, but it's hard being miserable. It's hard to work out and make yourself do it when you don't feel like it, but it's hard to be out of shape and overweight and everything hurts. Sometimes it's hard to have that difficult conversation, maybe with a loved one or maybe with a boss, but it's also hard to continue going on the way things are going if there's some thorn in your side. It's all hard. We get to choose. I know which one I'm choosing. Now, this week, I've got a little bit of homework as promised, okay? I'm going to email out a few things specifically, okay? One, an essay called Definiteness of Purpose by Napoleon Hill, okay? Two, I'm going to email out a version of what's called the Statement of Desire that's also found in the Think and Grow Rich. So I did not create this. This is a product of Napoleon Hill. It's called a Statement of Desire, where it gives you an opportunity to clarify exactly what it is that your goal is. Now, in Think and Grow Rich, he talks in terms of financial rewards, but let's be clear, okay? Your goal and riches could be something that's not necessarily financially driven. Okay, it could be something that's more as far as like fulfillment, rewarding, okay, experiences, things of that nature. Okay. He also suggests that you clarify and get clear on what it is that you're willing to sacrifice for that goal. Now, there's some real truth to this because there's no such thing as something for nothing. Okay, no such thing as something for nothing, you know, and you might want to get real clear on what it is that you're willing to let go of in order to achieve your goal. I'll hear people back in my gym days say things like, well, I really want to lose weight. I got to lose this weight. I need to get in better shape. I want nothing more than that. It's like, okay, well, let's kick the sugar. Ooh, anything but that. What else you got? Reminded a little bit of that Meatloaf song, you know? I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. You know, Thomas is probably the singer of the group. It's not me, but you know, and having a definite timeline. So I'm going to send a little bit of homework here. Okay, a statement of desire. Okay, an essay that I would suggest reading daily, studying. Okay, I'm also going to send out an invitation to join a group chat and a way of kind of like keeping ourselves accountable as ideas or inspiration come, upload it to the group chat, and let's do this together. Hey, what do you think? Any questions, any comments before I let you guys go? Clear as mud? All right. Hey, well, I'm super excited for you guys. I'm excited to go on this journey with you. I'm looking forward to the next coming weeks and look forward to hearing of everybody's progress in the group chat. So we'll stay tuned, stay in touch, and we'll talk very soon. Okay. Everybody have a great weekend. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.